Naked Truthers. Welcome back. So, in this episode, I want to dive into a bit of my birth story and what I experienced and what I originally had planned, and then how things took a turn right at the end, and then it was like, what the fuck kind of energy. So, diving right into it. Okay, originally, I was going to have my beautiful baby in a birthing center. And in my mind, I was going to do this beautiful water birth with, the dim lights and the soothing music and having the different aromas in the diffuser, all that good stuff, right? Peaceful, just me and my partner was going to be in the room. Of course, with the midwives and other people that was there, but outside of that, no other family members. And that was originally how things were going to go, or how we wanted them to go, right? So, yeah, I hit 35 weeks. I hadn't even had my baby shower yet. It was maybe 6 or 7 days before my baby shower. I had 35 weeks, and it was 4 a.m. on a Monday, 4:30ish, somewhere around there. I go to use the bathroom, my regular scheduled programming, and when I stand up to go use the bathroom, I feel like a liquid. I feel like water or whatever is coming from me. And at first I panicked because I was like, oh shit, am I bleeding? What is this substance? I wasn't even thinking about water, so to speak. I thought it was blood. And so I instantly run to the bathroom, and I'm like, okay, so this is not blood, it's water. I'm like, what the fuck, am I peeing on myself? I've never peed on myself the whole pregnancy, so what's happening? So then I pee, everything's all good, right? I stand back up, the water's still coming out. I'm like, holy fuck, I think my water is breaking. So I run and I get a towel, and I'm walking around, I'm like, oh shit, what do I do? It's too early, she's coming out, what's going on? I didn't have any pain or anything, but I was just panicking because I knew it was still early, and she wasn't supposed to be here yet. So I thought, right? So after that, the waters just kept continuing to come out. So I woke up my partner, and I'm like, yeah, I believe my water just broke. He's half asleep, what? I'm like, I believe my water just broke. I don't know what's going on. The water just keeps coming. Then I woke up my mom too, and she just went into a frenzy. She wanted to call an ambulance, and I'm going back and forth with her no, I'm not calling no ambulance. The hospital is right up the street. We gonna make it. We'll be all right. My sister ended up dropping us off, but me and my mom went back and forth over this ambulance thing for at least 10 minutes. Y'all, I didn't have a hospital bag packed, so hey, I wasn't prepared, I guess. And so I ran down to my room to go pack a hospital bag, and I'm just throwing shit in there. I don't even know what I'm supposed to take. I'm just throwing shit in the bag, and just whatever is there is what's there, and I'm going from there. And that's just how we gonna do this, because like I said, I was unprepared. So we got a bag packed. Then I got in the car with my sister, my partner, we're going to the hospital. Boom, make it to the ER. And they send us up to labor and delivery. They're doing all the tests to make sure that my water actually broke. Find out that it did. Now they have to admit me, and they're monitoring me. So basically, in the beginning, I was just on the heart monitoring machine for the baby. And that's pretty much how things went. They were just seeing how I would progress from there, making sure the baby's heart rate was, where it needed to be, things of that nature. They kept me full of fucking fluids, so I was back and forth to the bathroom, back and forth. And then, they were concerned about, we don't want you to get an infection since the water already broke, blah, blah, blah. So that came up into the air as well. I was in the hospital for 2 or 3 days. Well, I think it was 3 days. And then that third day, they wanted to go ahead and induce my labor, for the simple fact that, they're like, oh, well, you're not making any progress. I was only 4 centimeters dilated. And, they're like, you're not making any progress. Your baby's been in there for a few days now. We're concerned about infection. And then also, I guess they just felt like my body wasn't going to do it by itself. They're like, oh, your body is not ready because you're early. Just all this shit they were telling me. and, making up a good story, making me feel like, like, hey, you need to go ahead and get the ball rolling, basically. Okay, hold on. Let's pause and take a few steps back, right? So if you've been listening, you're probably wondering why I didn't just go to the birthing center instead of going to the hospital, right? Well, this is why. The birthing center only deals with low-risk pregnancies. And oh my God, I love them so much because they did everything they could to get me in, right? Because the cutoff for new moms was 34 weeks. And me trying to enter into the birthing center, I was like right at 34 weeks. But they didn't turn me around. They moved fast. They got the paperwork done. They did everything that needed to be done so I could have a spot. And I got my spot. I did. But then things changed. They sent me off to the specialist to get another ultrasound because my OB only did one ultrasound. And I was like 5 months, right? And in the ultrasound, basically the baby was showing up small compared to, my last period and where I should have been at weekly, right? And so I think I told them I was like 25 weeks. They was like, no, your baby is only showing up as 21. But they left it at that. They didn't, dig any deeper. They was just like, we're going to go with what the ultrasound shows us. So boom, you're only 21 weeks. So technically they put me a whole month behind. Okay, so now we at the birthing center and they're like, you know what? We want you to go have another ultrasound done by the specialist and see what they say. Okay, cool. I go there, get the ultrasound done, and now they're telling me, oh, your baby is still measuring small. I believe it was her head was measuring small and her abdomen. So they were saying she was a few weeks behind of where she should be. And she was in like the lowest percentile that there was, right? Okay, cool. So they also diagnosed me as having IUGR, I believe it is, and it stands for intrauterine growth restriction, right? Okay, cool. Well, being diagnosed with this now put me as a high-risk pregnancy, which means that I could no longer go and be at the birthing center. So after all that hard work, after getting my hopes up, after getting excited, after planning my whole vision out of how this birth was about to go, and even choosing a room, because in the birthing center, they let you choose which element you want to be in, right? I was going to go have my water birth in the fire room. And boom, it was like all my dreams just came crashing down. My bubble was bursting. I couldn't go there. And I cried my eyes out. So it was back to being in the hospital setting, which I really despised, right? So that's why I ended up in the hospital in the first place. Because with my water breaking, if everything was fine, I would have just went straight on to the birthing center. But hey, things don't go as planned all the time. And it is what it is, right? As long as my baby was healthy and she was earthside, that's really was my big concern. But my feelings was hurt when I found out I couldn't attend the birthing center anymore. Okay, cool. So I'm trying to remember where I left y'all at the hospital. I know I said they was trying to get the ball rolling, right? Because it was like my third day there and I wasn't really progressing. First of all, I want to say this. Those fucking cervical exams to check how far you are dilated hurts like a motherfucker, okay? That shit is painful as fuck. And I wanted to punch her in her throat every time she tried to do it. It hurt so bad. And she kept trying to force 2 fingers when only one would really fit. She kept trying to force my body to be dilated. And I was not where she wanted me to be. And it hurt so bad. That pain was awful. Oh my goodness. And I'm not even trying to exaggerate. That shit was painful. This pain that I experienced through all this, some of the worst pain I ever had in my life. Like pain tolerance negative, like 0. It was the pain just all the way through the roof. And then she also did a membrane sweep, right? Without telling me she was going to do one. After she took her fingers out of me, she was like, oh yeah, and I did a membrane sweep without telling you. I'm like, what the fuck? They don't even, she pissed me off when she said that shit because it's supposed to be consent when in the hospital, right? This is my body. You're supposed to ask me or tell me what you're going to do before you do it, or at least ask for my permission. But no, she did what the fuck she wanted to do, right? And so I didn't like that, and that shit hurt too. And then moving forward, they went with some medicine called Servidol, I think, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, which is basically this, I don't even know how to describe it, but it's just like this little thing they put up on your cervix or whatever to help it dilate. And then the nurse that did that struggled because she was like, oh my God, your cervix is all the way at the back. And it's like she couldn't find it and she couldn't get it placed correctly. And oh my God, it was just irritation because it hurt to have her fingers up inside me. So she finally got it done, right? And then it's like this little string that hangs like a tampon. It was weird as shit. And it's supposed to stay on for like 12 hours, I believe. And then after that, they see where you are. And then from there, they decide if they want to do another one or give you some other kind of medication, right? So that one didn't stay on the full 12 hours. That shit fell out. It fell out, I think maybe at 9 or 10 hours. And then they checked. And I think I had dilated a little bit more, but not really much. So they ended up giving me another one. But that was still kind of peaceful, you know what I mean? Baby heart rate was still doing good. And then I wasn't really making much progress though. So I don't know, the hours between all this is a blur, so I don't know how long it was between this and that, and it's all a blur in my brain. And so all I remember is a lady coming in and she's like, well, I think it's best if we start Pitocin. Now, I was scared as fuck of Pitocin because I've heard the horror stories of this medicine. I've heard them, I've seen them, watching videos, heard women talk about them, and I've heard how they affect the baby, and then you end up having to have a C-section, right? And for the life of me, as I replay things back in my head, I'm like, why did I let them talk me into this, you know? And at first I beat myself up for it, but I'm like, nah, it is what it is now. I can't go back. It is like I can't do anything to change it. But I wish I would have said no to Pitocin. And for those of you that didn't have any issues with it or don't think anything's wrong with it, I'm happy for you. But this is my experience and my reality and my truth. For me, it was awful. It was the most painfulest medicine ever. So motherfucking painful. Like, that shit hurt so bad. And it made my baby's heart rate drop consistently, which is why I had to have a C-section in the first fucking place. So yeah, horror story confirmed. Worst medicine ever. Like, I would not recommend at all. Like, no. I wish I would have just let my body do what the fuck it was meant to do and would have had more patience, because baby girl was still hanging in there. Even though it had been 3 days, she was still hanging in there, you know. But they did tell me it looked like she was starting to get tired. And so in my head, I'm like, what the fuck do I do as a mom? Do I go ahead and see if she can warrior on, or do I go ahead and take this Pitocin and hope that it doesn't harm her? Like, having to make this decision was like, oh my goodness. So I went ahead with the Pitocin, and when that kicked in, I was in the worst pain ever. And shout out to my partner, because literally his hand was being squeezed as fuck, because I needed something to hold on to let this pain release from my body, because it was so bad, and his hand was squeezed. So and he was trying to, oh my God, so I had got up to try to go to the bathroom. This might be TMI, but y'all be alright, right? And oh my God, like, I was getting ready to get back up to go back out and get into the bed, and I had a contraction hit from the Pitocin. I had to stop in my I couldn't even walk. Like, it was, man, some of the craziest feeling shit ever. Okay, and so I was on Pitocin for hours, and they kept increasing the fucking amount that they was giving me, so it was getting more intense and more intense and more intense, right? The pain was getting stronger, but I still wasn't dilating the way they wanted me to. And so after like a few hours or like half the day of being on it, I told my partner, I was like, listen, I can't do this anymore. Like, I cannot take this pain. I tried, I sat here, I fought, I ignored it, but they keep raising the number that I'm on, the pressure, it keeps getting more intense. And I was like, I gotta get an epidural. I didn't want this fucking shit either. I didn't want the epidural, but I cannot take that pain anymore. And then it was like, you know, what was my other option? You know what I mean? I didn't know. So they called in the anesthesiologist to give me an epidural. And in my mind, I'm like, oh God. Like, because I've seen how long the needle is. I don't have a fear of needles, but I'm just like, man, if this doctor don't know what the fuck he doing, or if he do something wrong at my spine, oh my God, I could be paralyzed. Like, it was just all these thoughts and like questions and what ifs, and just everything was just popping in my head, right? So, okay, do the epidural. That shit felt weird as hell. When he was putting a little needle in, he hit something that made my leg jump, and it was weird. And he was like, okay, you gotta be in this position. And then it was just, I don't know, it was a weird experience. And then I didn't do a lot of research on epidurals. right? Which is my fault, of course. I didn't know they fucking make you feel paralyzed so I literally cannot move. I didn't know that. I thought it was just to numb the pain. I could not move my legs, like, at all, barely. So it's weird because I'm telling my mind, hey, I'm gonna move my leg and I can't lift my leg up. I felt so paralyzed and I was so fucking scared because I'm like, yo, like, what happens if I stay like this? What happens if this medicine doesn't work or something went wrong and now I can't move my legs? Right? I just fucked myself up. Like, so these are my thoughts. I'm being real with y'all. This is how my thoughts were going. And so, like, laying there and being numb, like, from the pain was beautiful, I ain't gonna lie. But not being able to move my body on my own as I wanted to, I had no fucking control over my legs. That was scary. That was really, truly scary. And I was like, damn, is this how people who are paralyzed, is this what they feel? I don't know, but it was like a little taste of it. Or maybe it wasn't. It was still just a scary experience, though. And so they kept turning me on the little peanut pillows. So it's like, oh, we got to get the epidural, from your left side to your right side, right? You make sure it's evenly spread, this, that, and the third. And then I don't even know how long I had the epidural before the doctor came in and was like, okay, I think it's best if we do a C-section. I'm not even sure. I don't remember, honestly. But I will tell you this. When they took me off that fucking Pitocin, because they was like, oh, the baby heart rate keeps dropping. And, the doctor came in, my OB came in, and he was like, listen, I don't like it. Like, every time you have a contraction, it's dropping. Mind you, she was fine before all of this medicine was inserted in me, right? Okay. And so, it came to a point to basically where they took me off the Pitocin, and then they gave me, some fluids. And she was okay. She calmed down or whatever, right? Her heart rate kind of evened out a little bit. And then, they was like, oh, it's best if we proceed with a C-section because, she's like, she's in distress. She's a small baby, with the intrauterine growth restriction that you have. She's a small baby and tiny babies get under stress faster. She's also preemie, this, that, and like all the stuff they just kept piling on top. And at this point, I'm fucking exhausted. And I'm just like, I just want my baby here. I just want her to be safe. I want me to be safe. I just want both of us to get out of this alive and safe and everything is all good. And so, did I want a C-section? Hell no. I didn't want none of this to go like this. I didn't even want to be in a hospital setting at all, right? I'm grateful that my baby's here, but I did not want to be in a hospital setting. That's just not where I wanted to be. And so, when he mentioned C-section, I rolled over straight to my partner, looked at him in the face, and I don't even know what my face looked like, but I know what his looked like. So I'm just like, fuck, And so the doctor is like, okay, hold on. Let me just break it down and tell you what's going on. And then, we'll go from there. We'll give y'all some time to talk or whatever. And so this is another decision because now it's like, do I hold on and wait and see if my baby can continue to fight? It's been 3 days. She's been in there. She's been fighting. Do I continue to put her through that? And then what happens if she gets stressed out and her heart rate drop all the way down? Now it's like an emergency C-section. Now she's fighting for her life. Or do I just go ahead and do the C-section even though it's not an emergency? Hardest decision ever. And I contemplated on it. And then we just went ahead. And I was just like, man, okay. We just going to do the C-section. Just get my baby out. I don't want to keep seeing her heart rate drop on this monitor. Like, that's scaring me. That's giving me anxiety. And then it's like, if I didn't do the C-section and something happened to her, then I wouldn't forgive myself. It's just be all this guilt. Like, man, oh. So anyway, went ahead with the C-section. And then the funny part about it is the anesthesiologist, like, before the C-section, he could not numb me. Like, it would not work. No matter how much medicine he gave me, it would not work. And he was like, the doctor was like, can you feel this? I'm like, yeah. He was like, but does it feel like this pinch or pinch? I was like, sir, I can feel you. So he kept trying to pinch me and poke me and all that stuff, and it just wasn't working. And I don't know if it was my mind that was just fighting and my body was fighting, but something was like, no, we don't want this fucking C-section. She ain't getting them. She ain't. My body fought it so hard. It's like he could not, no matter how much medicine he pushed in me, and he pushed a lot of fucking medicine in me, it was not numbing me. I could still feel like the little scalpel, the knife the doctor was using when he was like touched against me and stuff. And when he would touch me, I could still feel it. So they ended up having to put me to sleep. So I wasn't even awake for my C-section, which sucks because I did want to be awake. And I wanted to be, like, experience that moment when my baby came out and they put her on me. But nope, didn't get to see none of that. And my partner wasn't even able to come in at this point. So he wasn't even there as a support system. So he's just waiting, not even knowing what's going on. Like, it was wild. So they finally gave me the medication, made me go to sleep. I passed out, went to sleep, whatever. And all I remember hearing is my name being called, and boom, it was like I woke up immediately and everything was over. And I was out, being pushed out. And then I see my partner with my baby, or with our baby. And I'm just like, what the hell happened? Like, I was still, oh, my baby laughed in the background. That was cute. She laughed at me. I was still, I was still sleepy and just out of it because of the medicine or whatever. But it was a good feeling to, finally have her out and just everything was good. And then I had a little bit more pain because after the C-section, the lady kept like, I don't know what she was doing to my stomach, but she kept like pushing down on it and like, she was like, I'm sorry, I just need to see if you're going to bleed out or something she was saying to me. I don't know the fuck. But that shit hurt. She did it like 3 times. And then they wouldn't let me go back into the recovery room until my blood pressure came down because it was too high. Eventually, everything settled down. She stopped messing with my stomach. I wasn't bleeding out. Everything was good. My blood pressure went down. And boom, I was put into the room. I'm going to just leave a part 2 because there's a whole after section of after labor, postpartum, whatever you want to call it, and the health complications that I went through. But we're going to leave that for another episode. This was just basically talking about my birth story, the plan that didn't go as planned, and then the horror of the medication and then the shit that I felt, and just the decisions and the experience for me, how this pregnancy played out. It was traumatizing, I'm not going to lie. Like, it really was. And even the postpartum and stuff that I'm going to tell you about later on, that was traumatizing too. Like the stuff that I had to go through and just more pain on top of more pain on top of more pain. It's like I couldn't even focus on being a mother because all I felt was fucking pain, right? So, I kept saying like I wasn't having no more children. And if I did, it was going to be adopted because this first experience was crazy. But no, I do want 2 more children though. I want at least 3 children. I got my baby girl. I knew she was coming. I knew I was going to have a girl with my first child. I feel like the next time I get pregnant, it may be a boy. I don't know. We'll see. I'm not thinking about that right now, though. I just want to, continue being a mom to my little girl and let my body heal. I'm not in a rush to have any more children right now. So that's a bit of my story. And, I just have a whole deeper respect for women than I had before when it comes to being a mom with labor, pregnancy, birth, just postpartum. Like, oh my God, this shit is crazy. And it's really playing Russian roulette. It's really giving life, but yours can be taken away. And it's like nobody talks about the darker side of pregnancy, all the horrors, all the things that can go wrong, all the health complications that can arise. You don't hear people talking about that. You just hear like, oh, it's so beautiful, you're pregnant, oh my God, oh, everything went so good. But the complications and the people who struggle, you don't hear about that side too often. And don't get me wrong, pregnancy is beautiful, right? It really is. But it's also challenging. It's also messy. It's also scary. It's also like just different emotions that you experience. And this is not to put fear into anybody's heart. If you want to have a baby, by all means, do so. Just, know what you're getting yourself into. And find people who are more on the natural side, if that's the way that you want to go. And, just educate yourself. I'll say that. And just go from there. But it's definitely a beautiful experience. And one thing that I do want to say is this, because on these social media streets, you'll have a woman expressing her experience with pregnancy, and then everybody come for her throat, right? And it's like, why? She can express her experience. They're like, oh, just be grateful that you have a baby. There's people out there that can't even have a child, and you out here complaining. That woman is not complaining. She is expressing what she went through. She is telling her story. And I don't understand why people get upset over that. It's like, yo, if the people who can't have children can express their side, why can't those who did have children express what they went through and share their experience to those moms that may be expecting, and things of that nature? Like, I don't get it. It's always a fucking competition on these social media streets. And that's gonna be an episode that I talk about this stuff on too. But there's always some competition. There's always other women putting women down. Like, I don't understand that shit. Like, where is the unity? Where is the sisterhood? It's like non-existent at times. Like, everybody just wants to criticize and have their opinions and be judgmental as fuck instead of coming together and helping out a woman that may not know what she's doing or that may be new to to having a child. It's crazy to me. But anyway, I'm gonna get off my my soapbox. I'm gonna get out my bag. That's my story. It is what it is. I have a baby here. She's waking up, as y'all just heard. So I love y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in. I will check back later. Much love. Peace.